Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're back on the tournament because, well, that's all we got going on the channel nowadays is the My Favorite LJN tournament. Currently, we are on episode 27, round 1, episode 27. But you guys know I like to chat just before I get into the main event, which is obviously the drawing and talking about the actual figures. My man Armenian was talking about episode 24, and we were looking at the LJN style of Ricky Steamboat. Now, I've always said Ricky Steamboat from the 80s. I knew nothing about that guy. When I kind of think about Ricky Steamboat, this guy right here. This is the Ricky Steamboat I remember from childhood. So that's always the Ricky Steamboat that I think about or I gravitate towards. Well, back in episode 24, we did see the Ricky Steamboat as LJN. Now, this was the resin figure. And Armenian asked me, or he was talking about Masters of the Universe. And he said that it would make a good addition to that lineup because it had a good look. Well, it actually did have a Ricky Steamboat from that lineup. The WWE Mattel Masters of the Universe lineup. So, very similar look to what we just got from Hasbro. So, this was the figure. Just in case you weren't familiar with that particular figure, I just wanted to kind of give you a little I won't call it demonstration, but a little viewpoint of what that line has. And in fact, I think I did do a Masters of the Universe review at some point, probably last winter, maybe. I don't know, man. All these videos, especially nowadays when I do all these videos on back-to-back days, they all kind of bleed in together. So, like when I kind of like reflect back and I think about the countdown I did once upon a time about, I don't know, the top 10 or top 15, whatever I did, worst action figures of all time. I think that was like episode 93. So I think that episode kind of stands out. And I think that was like back in like January of 2023. So January of 2023, we're not even 2 years later. And that was less than 100 episodes into the channel. And right now we're getting close to 600 episodes. So that just tells you the sheer volume that I put out over the last couple of years. Massive. Also, a few weeks ago, I finally got my wife to watch Young Hercules. So back on Fox Kids in the late 90s, around 1998, 1999, you got Young Hercules and Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog, which was the big, I guess, superhero shows at the time. And I, after multiple decades, finally watched Mystic Knights, 50-episode first season, and that's all it had. It was kind of like the American version of Power Rangers or whatnot. Of course, Power Rangers is still considered to be a Japanese show. So, and my wife, she watched it with me, but I don't think she was really like too keen on it. And when I finally got her to watch Young Hercules, because again it kind of aired at the same time, I don't think she really realized what it was. Not really realizing that it was made by the same people that made Hercules Legendary Journeys as well as Xena Warrior Princess. So like the very opening scene, you featured Strife and then Ares, and once she saw that, she was like super excited. So we watched that whole series, and now she's going back and she's watching all the seasons of Hercules Legendary Journeys and Xena. So, and going back and watching and seeing all of these actors and actresses that you're very familiar with, but you didn't know about them back when you were 9, 10, 11 years old. It's crazy. Like the last episode I just saw was an episode with Ashley Lawrence. And Ashley Lawrence, obviously from the first 3 Hellraiser movies, she was the main character. And I think she also appeared in like 1 or 2 of the movies towards the end as well. But obviously when you're looking at these characters and you kind of like get on their IMDb page, kind of seeing what else they've been in over the years, and you realize that every single one of these actors were like born in the 60s. And it's like, damn. All these people were between like 27 to 31 usually when they started on Hercules. And all of these actors are like hovering around their late 50s, pushing 60 years old. I'm like, man, that makes you really start to feel old in life. And it's not just that. I was on the radio the other day and listened to the oldies channel here in Louisville, Kentucky. I think it's like 104.5 or something. Back in the 90s in Chicago, we really had two primary stations that we listened to. We listened to Eddie and Jobo on B96, which was 96.3. Obviously, they had all your pop songs and dance songs. To me, at the time, was like the best radio station ever. Then in the later 90s, the damn songs got really crappy and it just wasn't the same. But you also listened to Oldies 104.3. And those were all music from the 50s and 60s. Oldies. 50s and 60s. You're in the 90s. We're in the 2020s now, and you're thinking back, it's like, damn. If my mom's music from 30 and 40 years ago were oldies, how are music from the 80s and 90s now considered today's oldies? Like, to me, I still look at somebody born in 1990. 1990, just 5 years younger than me. But I still look at someone born in 1990 as being a baby in my eyes. I think 1990 as being so freaking young, and I still can't get over, I can't ponder that how that the 90s are considered oldies. I guess when I look in the mirror, I don't really see an old man. And my wife kind of made this joke, and I think I've said it before plenty, that when she kind of looks at me in high school and kind of looks at me over the years, that I don't look like I really aged. And sure enough, if I were, go and I shave all my face off, shave my face off, shave my beard and shave my mustache, I'll probably look like I'm 17 again. So I got a really young face, and I think when I'm like 70, 80 years old, I'm probably still gonna, I might have a little bit more wrinkles, but I still feel like I'm gonna look like a really young guy. I don't know what it is. I just don't age as much, I don't think, but it's just insane. Like, I think just kind of looking at those oldies and looking at these actors that you kind of like watched on all these awesome shows, and you're kind of rehashing on your own life and seeing where you're at in life, it's like, man, you really start to feel your own age now. Oh, man. Let's get away from that sadness, shall we? What are we on? Episode 27, I said? Yep, episode 27. So let's move on to the tournament, which is, got a couple names here, and this one is a blank, so I'm going to throw that to the side. I'm going to mix these names back in here. Episode 27, yet this bowl still looks pretty darn full. I just crazy. And you know what? The new figures I've gotten in, Berserker, the new Tito. What else have I gotten in recently? There's new figures I've gotten in. Oh, the new Butch Reed. That one hasn't shipped out yet as of the filming, but there are several figures I just got recently that haven't been even written down and added yet, so this is going to go even further, I think. What is this one? Jim Neidhart Purple from Robert Jackson versus Sergeant Slaughter from Sergeant Slaughter green shirt. Okay, so that's not the Wrestling Rider Sergeant Slaughter. That's probably the one from Harvey Snuts. And I could have sworn I didn't include the 2 Jim Neidharts from Robert Jackson, but I guess I did. So, I guess lucky me, or lucky us. Next matchup is going to feature Jim Neidhart Custom. See, I hate this. Why do I keep getting the same figures over and over again? And this one just says Jim Neidhart Custom. That doesn't help me. But I think I know exactly which one I was talking about with that one. He is going to square off against Honky Tonk, and that's probably original Honky Tonk Man. Next matchup is going to feature Blue Blazer, as he will square off against George. Darn. I don't want that match. I don't want that one. George Steel Clothed. Last one is going to feature Butch Reed, and he's going to do battle against I'm done. This tournament, I'm done. I am done with this tournament. From Random Treasures, Galoob 2-Ups, Butch Reed versus Barry Windham. Those are 2 round 5. Not round 4. Definitely not round 3. Those are 2 round 5 figures, and we're already going to lose one. That's BS. I'm not happy about that. But, holy crap, are we at 12 minutes already? Insane. I gotta shut up and stop talking so much. I'm gonna go get the figures pulled, guys, and we will begin shortly. Alright. Matchups. Figures pulled, and let's begin. From Robert Jackson, we've got the custom Jim Neidhart as he does battle against... I think I may have gotten this one from Harvey Snuts on Mercari. The Hulk $0125 guy. We'll start with Sergeant Slaughter. Now I've actually gotten a couple of different figures, such as this one. One of the first Nikolai Volkov customs to Sergeant Slaughter came from Wrestling Writer. And I remember one of his comments, Eric's comment to me when I bought his variant of the Sergeant Slaughter. And he made this comment about, I forgot his exact verbiage, but something about how we got a real Sergeant Slaughter and not that shitty one that Hasbro made. And I'm like, and I remember being pissed off by his comment. And I'm like, look, if that 8-inch rubber Hasbro LJN style Sergeant Slaughter was part of this tournament, it would be over in just like that. That figure would run right through this whole tournament. That is freaking perfect beyond belief. Okay, that would win this tournament hands down. I love that figure. And to say that, and again, it's not this figure. It's the other one we'll probably see eventually in the series, in this tournament. But the fact that he actually made that claim that his Nikolai Volkov, turning Nikolai Volkov into Sergeant Slaughter was a better figure, I'm like, man, you just lost a lot of cred points with me on that one. But not this figure, but he did have kind of like a bald spot at the top, so it kind of, I guess it was more Sergeant Slaughter based on real life, whereas obviously the Hasbro is just that. It's G.I. Joe. It's cartoon. He's pumped up to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like John Cena, some big superhero special force type guy. Whereas these guys, they actually got the look of Sergeant Slaughter. I get it, but still. This one doesn't have all of the different attributes that the other figures did, meaning very limited paint editions. And you know what? Kind of looking at this figure, I think I'm wrong. I don't think I got this one from Harvey Snuts. I think I may have gotten this from, I'm wondering. I may have gotten this from Ohio Figures. That may have been where I got it from, because every now and then Nathan does put random customs up, once every so often. they don't sell for a whole lot of money. I think these figures probably go for around $10, $20, something like that. Very small amounts. You're not looking at like a $50, $60, $70 for customs. And I got it because Nathan, I like doing business with him. Oh Hell Figures has always given me great service. And it was just another custom to add to the wall. So I think if he did have the little bald spot at the top, it would have made it look a little bit better for this particular figure. I mean, it's done pretty decent. I mean, really nice jungle boots and everything. Nothing wrong with this particular figure. I think this was a relatively easy decision for me. I mean, a second we said Sergeant Slaughter versus Jim Neidhart. It was a wash. So this was one of those figures that I sent where it was pretty beat up, and there were a couple figures, a couple Jim Neidharts I had purchased, and they were beaters, and I sent them to Rob to customize, and you know he knew it as well. The whole point of me getting the figures were to resell them. I'm not an artist. I don't know how to paint. My paint skills are absolute trash. So I sent them to him, pay him for his work, and then I try to resell them later. But I got the pink pants variant in, and I got the purple pants figure back. I looked at the two figures, and I'm like, son of a gun. I couldn't sell them. It's not that, I mean, I'm pretty sure if I put them up for $60, $70, yeah, they probably would have sold. I mean, it's not the fact that they wouldn't eventually sell on eBay, Mercari, whatever. No, I personally could not sell them. I couldn't let them go. They were done too well. The extra glossy and shininess to the figure, I mean, it really pops. I mean, look at the skin and the way that the black really stands out on the t-shirt and elbow pads. So it was just done so well. I just like, no. And I think when I did list it, I listed it for like an astronomical high price. I don't know what I listed it for, $200, $250. Basically, I listed it for a price that's basically said, I'm not selling this figure. Now, if someone's crazy enough to give me $250 for a Jim Neidhart or $350, whatever crazy number I put it for, then yes, absolutely, I'll take it. But like I said, this is one of those figures that were just done so well, even though the intended purpose was to resell it. Like he knew, and I hate when people do that. Like if I go onto somebody's website and I buy their figure for cheap, or if they got something for like 20 or like $30, and I shortchange them and I offer them 15, and then I turn around and sell it for 75. No, I hate that. That kills me. And I've seen other people do that to sellers. I've seen people do that to people that I buy customs from. So if I have the intended purpose of reselling it, I'll tell the guy straight up, hey, this is my intention. And 99.9% of the time they're okay with it. But you guys see my collection, man. I pretty much keep all of their customs, okay? When you see something this good, you're like, nah, it's hard to let them go. Jim Neidhart, top 10 action figure from LJN. This was a simple wash for me. Next matchup was another Jim Neidhart, and I just simply called this one Jim Neidhart Custom, and I think I knew exactly which custom I was talking about. And he squares off against original Honky Tonk Man. Once again, we will go back with Jim Neidhart. And I think the store was called, and I could be wrong, I think they were called Comet Collectibles or something. I think I purchased a couple of different things from Comet Collectibles, and I might have the name wrong. It's been 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. It's been some time. I think one of the first things I ever bought from them was a 3-pack of Jakks Pacific Classic Superstars. And it featured your heavy hitters, your heavy bad guys of the 80s, Nikolai Volkov, King Kong Bundy, and Iron Sheik. And If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the very first Jakks Pacific box set I ever purchased. Not just tag team, but Jakks Pacific period. And later on, I also got this figure, and I think they were selling it for like 110. I came in with like an offer of like $90 or something, and they declined my offer, so they wouldn't sell it for less than 100 or something. But I was watching it. I was watching the item, and then later on, they like within like a day or so, they sent me an offer for $90. So I'm like, well, that's some BS. You don't know who's watching your items. I just think at the time when I sent them the offer, they probably didn't think I was a serious buyer, or maybe they just thought they could get an extra $10 or something out of me. I don't know. But it sucked because I think I had just paid for that three set for the Jakks Pacific, and then I had to get this individually, so shipping, I would have loved to have gotten them together, save on that cost. I love the fact that I got the figure though. Like I said, it's for 3 years or close to it. However long I've had this figure, I don't know. It's been one of my favorite LJNs. And I feel like every single tournament, every time I do this tournament, I always feel like this one and the Wrestling Writer Bret Hart, I always feel like those two figures always should end up in the finals. They should always square off against each other, but it just never seems to play out that way. And then I had the one tournament, the tag team tournament, where I put that Wrestling Writer Bret Hart together with this one. I'm like, finally. Not only do I have this tag team, but I got these two perfect figures working in tandem together. There is no way in heck these figures are going to lose. They didn't win that tournament either. So, fantastic figure. I mean, it's got great artwork. Decent enough, not over the top, but it's solid. It's a solid piece, right? Probably my favorite Jim Neidhart figure overall. And I don't remember if this belt came with this figure or if I just included this later on. And I go back to Play Pose, right? I've said top 10 figure. I don't even think I have Honky Tonk Man in my top 20. I will mention it a million times before. I will mention it a million times more in the future. I will always say this because it will always be true. Whether you are looking at Hasbro, whether you're looking at LJN, it doesn't matter. Figures like Honky Tonk Man and $1 Million Man, or for LJN, you throw in guys like Harley Race, the figures are only as good because they are clothed. You could sit there and argue all day long that you would much rather have them ring ready, trunks, boots, let's go. I 100% disagree. And that's fine. I mean, we all have our own preferences, right? But all I'm saying is, a perfectly fine fighting pose, not horrible, a very playable action figure. Like many of your Series 5 figures, Slick, all gray, Bam Bam Bigelow, all black, Honky Tonk Man, all blue. You're going to have those issues where these figures are constantly bleeding through. One Man Gang is all black. It's freaking annoying when the rubber bleeds through the skin tone. But you take that stuff away. If this were just boots and trunks, this would be a very simple, plain figure. It wouldn't work. That Harley Race LJN, you take away that vest that he wears, and that's a crap. That's one of the worst action figures ever created. That's like Ron Simmons bad. But because he's wearing that jacket accessory built on, it makes it a much better figure. I feel the same way about the Honky Tonk Man. $1 Million Man, same thing. I have so many Jim Neidharts in this tournament already pushed forward to round 2. Like a crazy amount of Jim Neidharts, not only in this tournament, but so many that are going to be participating in round 2. And that's the thing, man. When it comes to and I just broke my belt. Oh well. That's not going to be utilized anymore. You want your best figures, and if that means having 10 Jim Neidharts in the tournament, then I'm going to have 10 Jim Neidharts. He is one of the best figures from LJN, and the customs are always spectacular, so why be mad? I still say that even though I don't necessarily put Honky Tonk Man on my top 20 list, is he a top 30 figure? I would hope so. Theoretically, he probably should. If I finally got down here and looked at all the figures, laid everything out, I could see him being top 30, top 35 maybe. Like I said, the aesthetics of the overall look is fantastic. His black and gold figure that's in this tournament, though, would not defeat that figure. I know that for sure. I don't think he would defeat his blue and orange, or his blue and gold either. A couple of the other figures he would beat. I think he'd beat his white one. I think he would definitely beat the black one. This is a really good figure. Excellent figure. I think absolutely fantastic. I probably, based on the rating system that I give these figures, I'd probably say, mid-tier figure, but he really should be higher than mid-tier. He really should be an upper echelon figure. But in this tournament, in this matchup in particularly, I have to go with Jim Neidhart. I think there are very few figures overall that's going to legitimately hands down beat Jim Neidhart. And more importantly, beat that particular version of Jim Neidhart. Next matchup is going to be an interesting one. From the Raider Nation comes one of their best, the Blue Blazer, as he squares off against George Steele. You guys saw my custom King Kong Bundy. I forgot the name of the seller I bought that one from, but I had to make its own unique video about that King Kong Bundy because they took one of my absolute all-time favorite figures. And think about this. King Kong Bundy, I think I have him at number 13 among the LJN originals. One of the absolute worst play poses imaginable, and he's a number 13 figure for me. That just shows you how much of an affection for him. Now, you give him that SD Jones fighting pose, he could be potentially be a winner of this tournament. George Steele had relatively the exact same pose. Minor change to the positioning, the way that the arms are off to the side. You give him a real upgrade in positioning of the arms, and you kind of just get rid of that kind of nasty, I don't know what they call them. That's not that hair. It's not hair. It looks like tag marks or something on the skin tags or whatnot. So I think they could have made the hair better. But throw some clothing on him. This figure looks so much better. But it's kind of Haku-ish, which is bad. But his arms aren't as close in as Haku, so them being spread out the way that they are, I still think that if you wanted to sit there and have an actual, all you got to do is really lower these arms just a little bit. Bring the arms from here to here. Have them straight out like this. This is an upper echelon custom, and I think it'd be among the highest echelon of customs, and all you had to do was literally lower the arms as pinch. Placement is such an integral component of action figures. I talk about paint schemes. How a simple paint change can make a world of difference, right? We're talking millimeters, centimeters, whatever you choose, inches, whatever method you want to utilize to lower these arms. We're talking about a very minimal change in location, and this would be an absolute elite figure. But he's going against Owen Hart's Blue Blazer, and I think again, Blue Blazer is one of the Raider Nation's best figures. Another Kenny Lester figure. This is a B. Brian Blair figure done right. No Bob Backlund. Never Bob Backlund. Oh, God. And I think it helps if somebody one day wants to cut off the head of B. Brian Blair, if they got like a really horrible beat up one and put a Bob Backlund on there and use like the right skin. Again, I think my biggest issue with that figure was the rubber. Because overall play pose, I don't mind B. Brian Blair's pose. I don't think it fits for Bob Backlund. I think but I'm trying to think like what pose would have really worked for that figure, right? Bruno Sammartino, I mean, Greg Valentine, I don't know. Overall paint, I mean, look at the mask, right? Let me get this accessory taken off. Look at how killer this is. When I say this was done absolutely... And I got this, and I got that Bam Bam Bigelow, which was made out of King Kong Bundy, and I got that Cactus Jack, which was made out of the Outback Jack figure at the same time. So all three of those figures, and then I paid about $300 or close to it, around $267, $270, something like that for all three figures after discount. And the Bundy / Bam Bam Bigelow figure was really the only one I probably would have liked to have taken back, but the other two were fine. And great color, great detail. How often do you get a Blue Blazer? And I don't know, I actually didn't know a whole lot about Blue Blazer. I think Blue Blazer was a original like 1988-89 character. What was it, 1999 when was it May 24th, May 25th, something like that, 1999 when Owen Hart had his accident and he was performing as Blue Blazer. Was there something here that broke? I don't know, but this is a fantastic figure. Here's a tough thing, man. When I decided I wanted to redo this tournament, there are certain figures I looked at. I'm like, man, I don't care what happens, who they face, they got to go extremely far in that tournament. George Steele is one of those figures I looked at. I'm like, he's got to make it 4 rounds, 5 rounds. It doesn't matter. If he makes it to the final 4, so be it. This is so well done. But I look at this matchup, and yes, this is the highlight of this video. How do I turn away Blue Blazer? This is one of Kenny Lester's best work. Colors, I mean, Blue Blazer is absolutely killing it. I mean, design-wise... Do I say I like one pose better than the other? I guess I like B. Brian Blair better. I think he's more of a playable figure, but I don't freaking know. Like, gun to the head, I'm at a loss. I'm going to choose George Steele. Why? In all honesty, I have no freaking idea. I didn't want to choose George Steele just for the sake of choosing George Steele. I want to have a legitimate reason for choosing him. But if I were to choose Blue Blazer, why would I choose him over George Steele? I still would not have a good enough reason. I think either figure is very deserving to make it to the second round. Either figure, I think, it has a very solid chance of making it into the 3rd and 4th round easy. Well, not easy, but I think they have a solid chance of defeating a lot of the competition. It really is a toss-up. Another one of those no wrong answers. I can't even say, well, it's original. It's not original. I mean, yeah, they can say, well, they just slapped on a little accessory. It's not changing much, but they did. They changed a whole lot. They basically made this a completely new figure just by moving the arms 180 degrees. I still like this figure a lot. I think putting this and the new King Kong Bundy together, I think that would be a freaking killer match if that happens sometime around round 4, round 5. But I gotta go with George Steele. Last matchup, you know what? Shoot. If that last matchup wasn't... This is actually like a WrestleMania 8 type of deal. I mean, what is the main event? Is it Hogan versus Sid, or is it Macho Man versus Ric Flair? Well, that's what these last 2 matches feel like, because here is another main event for you. These aren't round 2 figures or round 3 figures. These aren't even round 4 figures. These are both round 5 pieces, and it sickens me that these figures square off against each other in the very first matchup. Barry Windham. I don't think I even knew the name Barry Windham until I started collecting Galoob figures. And in the fourth quarter of 2021, when I started collecting, and you guys know the story, man. I got hurt in Syria in 2021, and in June of 2021 came home. Had to do something, had to earn some extra money while I was injured and back home. So I decided to open up an eBay account. And for over a decade, I had all this excess military gear that was just laying around, taking up all this space in my garage and basement and stuff. And I finally decided to start selling that stuff off. Started selling a lot of my military stuff, started making a lot of money. I'm like, you know what? For down near 20 years, I really was never buying stuff for myself. I was always the frugal one, always saving, always trying to put money together so that I could accomplish certain goals, like paying off this credit card, paying off the house, paying off the cars, things like that, right? So when I started making money on eBay, I started buying stuff for myself and started getting on YouTube more often and watching different nostalgic TV shows. Well, I don't call them TV shows, but YouTube for me has become my new TV shows. But watching these different channels, different collectors, and suddenly an interest has collecting piqued my interest. Wrestling piqued my interest. I always wanted to get a lot of these Hasbros I had as a kid, but like Galoob, I had some as a Galoob. I'm like, yeah, I could go for those too. I never heard of Barry Windham. I never had Barry Windham as a kid. Getting the figure in, I'm like, this is a perfect freaking figure, man. Sid Vicious and Barry Windham together, so good, so enjoyable to put together. And Butch freaking Reed, another one of those figures I never had. How the heck would we have Ron Simmons and not have freaking Butch Reed? Look at that play pose. It's possible that if we had this figure and not Ron Simmons, or if we did have this figure and Ron Simmons still, I could have probably had... This could have been my favorite figure. Maybe Sid Vicious wouldn't have gotten as much love as a kid. Who knows? But Sid Vicious, Barry Windham, and Butch Reed, your top 3 Galoob figures of all time. There really isn't a wrong answer. Either one of these figures, if one loses to someone else in the next round, or the round after, etc., it means that the other figure would have lost. These figures are literally neck and neck. If this is a 9.9, then this is a 9.9. And Ram Treasures, they did an absolutely amazing... I love what they do with the Galoob 2-ups. Okay. I mean, they're not changing anything. You can't sit there and be mad about play pose like Ron Simmons or anything like that, because they're just simply taking an existing design and characters and figures that a lot of us had as kids, and they're just blowing it up. And now we're getting added to another amazing collection for guys like me who didn't have these as kids, the rubber figures. So, you guys got to help me out on this one. I don't know. So apparently there is some kind of variant with Butch Reed where he's got the little Nike swoosh on his shoes, and other variants where he doesn't. I don't know if that's a variant or not. You guys ever hear about anything like that? Because I think if I've ever seen that, I would probably just look at it as paint loss and not necessarily a clear variant. So I don't know. I haven't heard of that as being a legitimate thing, but I've heard people talk about that, so maybe. Such a great figure, and Barry Windham, man. I've already said that Barry Windham is just behind Sid Vicious among the Galoob figures, so realistically, I guess Barry Windham has to be my winner, right? If I rate Greg Valentine as the number 5, at least back then I did. So based on my rating system back in the day, if I said Greg Valentine was the number 5 best LJN figure, and it's based on this exact same fighting pose, I gotta throw Barry Windham in there as being right there in the upper echelon of figures. When we talk about Ram Treasures exclusives, at some point I will do another one of those videos where we look at all of their exclusives. I probably will not include the 2-ups though, because again, it's a Galoob design. It's not an original thought or anything like that. But then again, I am sure a lot of you guys could say that that's the same could be said about a lot of these figures that are designed by different customizers, Print Fury, etc. And Zashman and Sin Bodie and Tom Vig and all these guys. But I don't know, maybe I'll have to. I'm going to go with Barry Windham. If we're looking at Galoob 2-ups, yeah, definitely one of Ram Treasure's top 5, top 6 best figures. If we're not including Galoob 2-ups, it doesn't matter. Play pose is phenomenal, and I love any of these figures that mix black and gold together. They just go beautifully together. Maybe it gives you a little bit extra design with a little extra color, but I don't know. I hate this matchup because it's an impossible decision. And I think in one of my previous, I think probably the last tournament, I had I think it was Sid Vicious versus Barry Windham in either the first or second round. I'm like, why does matchups like that keep happening? I don't know if that happened in like my favorite LJN tournament or if that happened in a different tournament, but I remember that matchup happening very early, and I'm like, you just got to throw your hands up because I love the fact that these random drawings are just that. You don't know, you can't predict what's going to happen, but it's gut-wrenching. There are certain figures that you absolutely know 100% deserve and should be. We should be talking about them in the next round, the round after, etc. So when you see them go up against certain figures that you know that one of these is going to disappear, it's like, it sucks. All right, guys, we're at 44 plus minutes. Man, I can't keep my videos past down to 30 minutes anymore. I'm sorry, but hopefully when we get in round 2, I won't be talking about the same stuff over and over again. So hopefully that will shorten the videos. Maybe. We'll see. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and until tomorrow's video, take care, everybody.